And then I go through those holdbacks, and it's usually
okay. The small one.
Nah, y'all
You have to put the animals first. Like when you see that, you
Happy Saturday, everyone. This is episode 76 of Reptiles and Cocktails. As you know, and as I'll remind you guys that these are now pre-recorded, so it's actually Tuesday, and this will air Saturday at 1 o'clock p.m. as Reptiles and Cocktails normally do. So I'm super excited. The guest that we have today, definitely someone that most of you will be familiar with, but many of you won't know a lot about her. Like I don't. Definitely a kind soul in the community, a beautiful person in the community, and definitely exudes positivity in all atmospheres that I actually engage with her. So we're going to just talk about that. Like, how does she remain positive through some of the I don't want to say bad situations, some of the situations that we actually have to deal with as a community. And we're going to talk about, just her life, with the reptiles, how she got into them, how does she educate with them, family, the things we normally talk about on Reptiles and Cocktails. But this is going to be a real fun one for me because this is someone I really would like to know better. You guys know I do the Cancer Walk in San Diego, California every year. So definitely maybe someone I can link up with this time when we're there while I'm there on one of my downtimes. I don't even know. I've been fishing today, and I definitely think I have bought in a fly from somewhere. So just bear with me. So I am going to definitely do our video, and right after the video we're going to bring on Lily from Nagatani Exotics, and I'm going to make sure I'm pronouncing that correct when Lily comes back with us, when she comes on with us. So just everyone, just be patient. I think you all going to enjoy this one, and here we go.
Me wind and rain.
So we're going to bring on our guests. Lily, you ready? Welcome. We are live.
Hi.
Reptiles and Cocktails. I'm glad to have you. Very excited to have you, actually. Like I said, I just definitely a person I want to get to know better. So let's start off. You are in which part of California?
I'm actually in Northern California. So, but even if you come to San Diego, it's really quick plane trip for me.
Okay. Oh, wow. So this is the funny part. My brother-in-law is in San Diego. I mean, no, he's not in San Diego. He's in LA. So the first time we came to San Diego, well, in my head, I don't know what my husband was thinking.
Oh, you're like very close.
You know, like he'll just be here. You know what I mean? Like it'll be that fast. And then one part, he was whatever part of of California he was in, it was almost like 2 or 3 hours away from. I'm like, that's
not
crazy.
Including traffic.
Right, and not including traffic. But oh God, California is a beautiful place to live.
I love Cali. Like I feel like no matter what, no matter how much people hate on California, I love Cali. But I will say like NorCal and SoCal could be like 2 different states.
Got you. And now I can tell you that my husband, if he had it his way, he would live in San Diego. That is his favorite place to go in the United States. It used to be Key West, and then the first time we had to go to San Diego, that was it. It was like this is me. This is where I want to be.
My first time in San Diego was actually last year, visiting. Well, besides when I was like a teeny tiny kid visiting the San Diego Zoo with my family. I hadn't been to San Diego in probably like 30 years.
That's
and last year was the first time. And I agree with your husband. San Diego is beautiful. Beautiful. If I were to live in SoCal, it would be San Diego.
Got you. Yeah, so that's the place that I decided that I would do the cancer walk every year because of that reason. It's just a very, very, very beautiful place. When your feet is hurting, it hurts a whole lot less when you up in hills looking down at the water in the mountains. and you can get to a park or something, just lay out in the grass because that's another thing. It's a very clean.
Yeah.
Very clean. Even where you saw homeless, it was still very clean.
Yeah, that's not the case up here.
So what city are you in?
So I live in a town called Elk Grove, which is just on the outskirts of Sacramento.
Okay.
I grew up in the Bay Area, which is about like 35 minutes from Oakland.
Got you. Okay. So when did you get into reptiles? Were you younger?
No, not till, believe it or not, COVID.
That is crazy.
So 2020 happened and my son was really bored. I was just like, you know what? He needs something to help him occupy his time and something to bring him some more responsibility. And he really wanted a corn snake. So we go to our local exotic pet store here in town, GX3, which is amazing. And we got him a corn snake and he loved it. And I thought it was so cute, but I was like, oh my gosh, it's like so tiny and so wiry and it moves like super like frantically. And I was like, I really want something that is a little bit chiller. So he was just like, you want a chill snake? Get a ball python. So then I start doing all of my research and I'm like, okay, within like a couple weeks, I got my first pastel. Loved her, and it was almost like it relieved a lot of some of my anxieties, and I was sold. I was addicted after that. And then I called the same breeder that I had picked my pastel girl up from, and I was like, I just want the prettiest, cheapest snake possible. So I got a coral glow, and he was gorgeous. And then I was like, oh, now I have like a female and a male. And I start watching all of Brian Barczyk's videos, snake discovery videos, mutation creation of always evolving, like everybody I could. And then I was like, 4 months later, I had 8. And now I have 18.
Wow, 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 wow.
I just got rid of two, which broke my heart. But I'm like, I have to start making better, smarter plans.
Got you. So it's okay. So for me, COVID is what made me, I ain't gonna say made me want to breed, but I still kept animals. Like I had animals. I had animals for a very long time, right? I think my very first ball python, we got my daughter's father bought it, and that was in 1990, 89, 90. No, 1992, because it was right after my dad passed away.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
And so I had kept as an adult animals since 92. Now, prior to that, I was fortunate. I grew up in the hood, but I grew up in a hood that was like, it was an island, Cherry Hill in Baltimore, Maryland. And it was like an island, it was surrounded by water. And so we could jump off our balcony in our townhome, go down into the woods and be at the water. So we crabbed, we fished,
cool.
we looked for snakes, snails, like just crazy. I won't herp today though, Lily. Do you like to herp in California?
I wish I did it, but I haven't had a lot of opportunities to. So,
Okay.
but I would love to. I don't have a lot of friends in my local area that I
Okay.
could call and do. So I'm like, maybe this will help me link me up with more people.
So is the part of California, and you said you came from the Bay Area. What brought you to the area that you're in now?
So I grew up in Antioch, which is like East Bay Area. And then so when I was in second grade, a veterinarian came to my class, did a presentation, said she had gone to UC Davis. And I was like, from there, I was like, I want to be a veterinarian. I'm going to go to UC Davis.
Okay.
So I worked my ass off, and right out of high school, I got accepted to UCD and came out to Davis. So that's what brought me out this area.
Got you. Okay. And so COVID hits, and when did you decide I'm going to breed these? I'm going to make this a something, right? Because look, everybody can say we're going to make it a business, but we don't know what it's been in the last year or something.
It was like 8 months after the first time I got that first pastel girl, and all of these videos where I was just like, I'd see like even Aussie Boys videos where I'm like, look at the colors, like the patterns, like this is insane. And I'm like, someday, like I would love to be able to produce something like that. So that's what kind of like started that little itch that you just need to scratch. And then, and now it's like ball pythons are wonderful and amazing, but it's like, there's so many species, but I have a very limited space. So I have to really, even though I want everything,
Right.
I need to make sure I know what's smart and what I can handle.
And then what's the family dynamic? Is you and your daughter, or how many children?
So I've been married to my husband for 17 years. We have a 16-and-a-half-year-old, and my daughter just turned 11. And we have a dog, 2 crested geckos, and the 18 snakes.
Okay. And does your husband, like, he's into the snakes too?
He tolerates it and he supports it, but he's just like, that's your thing.
It's so amazing how many of us women are in that, that dynamic. Very supportive.
It's like he grew up with snakes. Like he grew up in Davis, which is a pretty rural place. So he grew up like catching king snakes and like bringing them home as pets. Where his mom is like freaking out. So I initially thought that he'd be way more into it, and he's just like, meh, whatever. Like,
that is amazing. So who has been your biggest mentor since you started in COVID?
I honestly like have to say there's so many different people. Like I call Antoine all the time. I call MJ. I call Jerome.
Okay.
But, Chad. I always watch Billy's videos. Brian Barczyk is just like an amazing, just somebody that I watched all of his videos. And he's just just an awesome inspiration of a human.
I agree.
And then like some of the local people that like my rat guy I call all the time, James. I'm like,
Yep. So my actually it's so funny. 2 of my ball pythons I actually bought from my rat guy. And first of all, I didn't even know that he sold, you meet people in the element in which you meet them. So I met him as a feeder breeder. And he is who provides me for all of my animals, including the reticulated pythons. So I was at a show one day and I would go and I would meet him at every show to get my food. And I was at a show one day and he had this beautiful display of dreamsicles. And I was like, and I hit him. I was like, you didn't say you sold ball pythons. And he was like, the rodents are really my thing. He was like, but yes, that's how I got into rodents. It was the ball pythons first. And he kind of told about the history and, he was very familiar with like the old schoolers, like the Aussies and Justice and people like that. So what he ended up doing that day was he sold me 2 of my first female breeders for like dirt cheap. They bred literally like a year later, and gave me, 2 of my favorite clutches. And so I think relationships are really important. So how do you build relationships in the hobby?
So it all really started joining lives, chatting in the chats, and because it's so funny. I'm actually like pretty shy and reserved, so the chats are like a perfect avenue for me to just not be so shy because nobody can really see you. It's an easy place to just like have more confidence, I guess. So that's how it started. And realizing like all these people are super approachable and like super nice and funny, it made it so much more easier to just like start reaching out to more and more people and like being the first person in the chats to like say hi to people as they come in. Because I remember like when nobody knew me and I'd be like, hey everyone, and random people would be like, hey, and you'd be like, oh, hi.
I think I met you in MJ's chat. That's when I first started recognizing the name. Now you could have been in the other chats, but I think that's when I connected. And I think I remember that moment where I connected. Oh, that's Lily.
That's with his wife.
Yes. I did too, though.
People were like there, and I'm like, no. My husband is very different. He is Davis.
So it wasn't until his wife was actually in the chat one time too. Like y'all don't look alike, but I think it was just her, the names, right? And then I'm like, okay,
was about the same too. So
that is so funny, so funny. But yeah, I did that in the beginning too. But I became more and more familiar seeing you in the other chats as well. But I didn't realize that you were so you did really good with building positive relationships, because I didn't realize that you were so new in the game as far as, because I consider myself new in the game as far as social media and breeding. As far as reptile keeping and husbandry, I've been doing it just so long. So a lot of people that I like to meet is people who can, like you, people you can just call about breeding questions. And that's how I'm so bonded with the suspects. Like we all contribute something differently to each other, but they all, for me, contribute different levels of that expertise.
Yeah, no, and they're such an amazing crew. Those Hair Down Fridays are fun.
Yes, and they're the only people that I chat with every single day. We say good morning to each other first. Sometimes before my husband even wake up and I say good morning, they are the first people we're saying good morning to. It's a real bond. We don't always agree, but we disagree in love. Like you would never hear anything, unfavorable coming out about each other, because we love each other so much to just say it to each other. And that's
which is how a true friendship is supposed to be.
Yes. But it's not a lot of that either. Like it's rare that, and it's not even normally about one of us. It's normally if we have to have a discussion, it's about a situation and what position, of a situation. What I love is that we don't influence each other one way or the other. Like if you are good with that person, I support you in being good with that person. But because I'm not, they don't, or because or vice versa. I won't not deal with you because you support that person. You know what I mean? So that's how we remain positive. I can honestly say that, like Ray, I don't know how he does it because I'm not capable. Ray has a way of being cordial with everyone. My spirit don't allow it.
I think because I'm a teacher, I have to deal with different situations and deal with people all the time, even that I don't want to. So I'm pretty good at reading a situation and kind of adjusting, and I'm pretty good at diffusing people's anger. And I'm really, really nice until you push and push and push, or if I feel like you're blatantly disrespecting me, then I'm like a 180. But it takes a lot to get me to that point. But then it's different. I've had to rein that in because I grew up in the hood. So it takes a lot to have to kind of, I'm not really train it out of you, but to kind of adjust and realize some of the things that we did in our childhood, how we coped with things weren't the healthiest ways to do things. And so, but once you get me to that level, it's easy to revert back.
So what is your sign?
Oh, I'm a Taurus.
Oh, I was going to say Capricorn.
So I tell people I'm stubborn and crazy.
So my husband is a Capricorn, and I always say about Capricorns, what's amazing is kind of like what you just said. He is good with everybody. He even bad, so he's not a person who will cut people off because they did something wrong. But he was raised by two pastors, so he's very forgiving. Then he marries me, who just wanted hell to everybody. He made me so much better on that side, where I don't joke when I tell people, if y'all knew me even 15 years ago, my temperament is I'm calm now. Calm. But he taught me that. He's younger, Lily, but he's way more mature. And I think that's because of he had so many losses in life, where I had, the mom and the dad, and I was a little not spoiled because I had other siblings. I would say if you got good grades, my father would get you anything you asked for. So I can say we were loved. We wasn't spoiled, because if you didn't do what you're supposed to do, he wouldn't get you shit.
Yes, 100%. My family was kind of the same dynamic. and so I got really good grades.
With that, I think there is a good and a bad to being raised with two parents. When you're talking about diffusing things, and when you have multiple siblings, the parents were the diffusers most of the time for us. My parents would come in and, my mother would be, sit your ass down and be quiet. My father would be, come on now, we don't fight each other. We fight people in the streets. My mom and dad were polar opposites. So it's funny that I'm married in a situation where me and my husband are polar opposites. But let me tell you something. When it's time to get mad and angry, you want to be dealing with me before you want to deal with the opposite side of my husband. He is kind until he's kind no more. And there's no reeling it back in. I saw it one time in my life, and I remember just sitting there, Lily, thinking, who is this man? I was conflicted. I didn't know if I wanted to say, babe, turn up, go get him, really, because this is serious.
Yes. no, like honestly, my husband is exactly the same way. I hear stories of like when he was like in his early 20s, and I'm just like, oh my god, like, and then there's been
Right, was it
times
you?
where it's almost gotten like real hot where I'm just like, you need like to calm down, like, or, yeah, but at the same time you're like, like
Like, you know, like I like this side. I don't know though. I just need this side to keep you out of jail right now. You know what I mean?
right.
I gotta pull you back in.
He, like when I turned 18, that was something that would constantly go through my brain. I'm like, you don't want to go to prison.
Yep.
You don't want to go to prison.
So I always say, as tough as people think I am, the one thing I know I cannot do, and I think that's why I'm the way I am with my animals, is always having them out and free, is because you cannot lock me in a box. I am terrified of jail, okay? Terrified.
Right? I'm like, that is not my lifestyle. Like,
Me neither.
I'm trying to be that. Nope.
And that's why I always say, even when I teach my children, my daughter and my grandkids, I always taught them, if you ever had to defend yourself, let the person, unless they have a weapon, because if they got a weapon, you got rules. You can go ahead and defend yourself. But unless they have a weapon, let them lay hands on you first, because then their hands became a weapon and you did what you had to do.
Yep.
So you don't go to jail.
Yep.
Because your mama stayed out of jail. I fought a lot, but I always would just wait until people you can say whatever you want. I would even walk away. Don't put your hands on me.
Yep. Yeah,
And
exactly. Like any fight that I've been in, I've been like, okay, like you hit me first. Like I'm not. I've always had that.
See, that's how you know you're from the hood, Lily. They
I've been like, all right,
take that one punch. Take that one punch and go from there. Because I mean, especially I know you experience this, because you are a beautiful person inside and out. But literally, my stepdaughter, my bonus daughter, is gorgeous. And when I tell people, like, she is the epitome of the beautiful brown. She looks Panamanian. Like, she looks very exotic. And I used to always teach her, because she came into my life when she was 1 year old. Because you're pretty, you're gonna have to know how to fight. I used to always teach her that, right? And her mom, Lord bless her soul, and not knocking her mom, you know, her mom always taught her to be prissy, you know. I'm like, and that's cool. It's two sides of me too. And my stepdaughter laughs about it to this day. Like, she knows if it's going down, and she wants somebody to get hyped with her, she gonna call me before she calls her mother and her father. And so I would always say, Nala, as she grew older, you may go to middle school. Come on, I need you to, daddy need to know you know how to defend yourself, you know. And then she gets into high school. She's in the 9th grade, 12th grader, jumped on my baby. But what I was so proud of, even though this girl was built like me, though. I don't even know, like, and Nala she's a tall, thin girl, beautiful inside and out. Again, she's not a person, if you're fighting her, you're jealous. You know, her father makes sure that she's dressed nice. Her mom is going to make sure she's dressed nice. They're going to make sure her hair is done, all of that. But she's not built about that, right? Her inner part is still this sweet girl who just want to get along with people. But someone recorded it, Lily, and my husband sent me the recording. Let me tell you something. I get mad. I'm mad about it when I think about it now. My biological daughter fighting somebody on the video wouldn't even bother me, because one thing is for sure for her, she's going to win that fight, even if it goes to war. But my baby, my bonus daughter, is a sweetie pie. And so I see these two big girls jumping on her, but Lily, she had one and she was going. I told my husband, I said, at least she fought back, damn it. They jumped her. She couldn't do something else. But she had that one. And so when I messaged her, I said, are you okay? She texted me back. She said, LOL, I'm fine. I said, great. I said, I'm proud. That one. Because I just wanted to know that at least she would fight back, you know? And I wasn't always sure about that. And that's important. in today's society when you are an attractive person. So like, how did you like growing up in San Diego? It might not be too bad because there's a lot of beautiful people in when I San Diego. Growing up in California, it may not be too bad because there's a lot of beautiful people there. But did you go through that type of stuff? Like, did your father and your parents have those discussions?
No, so both of my parents, my dad's Japanese, my mom is Peruvian, but my dad grew up in Peru.
Okay.
So both of my parents, like, they come from Peru. So I think immigrant parents, like, don't talk to their kids about anything.
Wow.
So you don't really anytime like I'd bring any conflict with friends to my dad, he'd be like, then just don't be friends with them. And it's like, oh, okay.
Big fat.
Right. And so I kind of had to just figure things out. Like, yeah.
Wow. So that's interesting. And then in today's society, like, how do you adjust with that? Because, you know, sometimes how you raise is how you raise your children. Or opposite, because I would tell you, my mom was never a mom who said I love you. My dad was the I love you. That was all the time. My mom way of showing that she loved you, though, even to this day, is as an old woman, she's the first one to show up in time of war. Or in time of distress. If you sick, the last person I talk to before I go into surgery is my mother, and she has this hardness. Like, in 2021, I had to have a full hysterectomy, and I only had one ovary remaining. Had to get that removed and everything else, right? And I feel like I'm gonna die. Right, first I'm scared because I put this surgery off all these years because I didn't want to give up my right. Even though I wasn't going to use it anymore, I still wanted to keep it.
Right.
And right before surgery, I wanted to back out because I felt like something was going to go bad. And I called my mother. My father has been gone for many, many years, so I had to learn how to get tough love. I said, Mom, I don't know if I want to do this. I keep feeling like something bad is going to happen. And she said, it is. If you keep that raggedy ass uterus inside, oh my God, right? And so, I'm dying.
Like, okay, I'm ready.
Right. My doctor is hearing this, and he is like he's cracking up. And I'm like,
that big raggedy ass out of here. Like,
but that's her way of saying, you're going to be fine. I support you and I love you. You know, when my sister went through breast cancer, the whole time my sister was fighting, we never saw her cry until my sister had an aneurysm in her breast after the surgery, where they tried to reconstruct it. And that was the first time we saw my mother cry. And because we're not used to seeing her cry, we looked and all bust out laughing. And my mother screamed, "It's not funny. That's my fucking daughter." And from that moment on, I told my mother, all these years, we realized that you had feelings, right?
right.
But we never thought about, we're crying over our sister, and you know, her friends are crying over their friends. We never thought about my mother's daughter. Right.
That they're going through that trauma too.
And that's worse, right? So, like, I mean, I said, you know, being a sister is hard, but I then had to even remember that my mom, like, we are her children. Because a lot of times we forget that when we become adults.
Right. And you can never be as well as your least well child. Like, when your kids are hurting, like, you're hurting so much.
And that's so, like, that's the lesson I learned, you know. And that's when I went from even saying to that my mom is strong and she's tough and all those things. I had to rethink, like, yes, my father's been gone a lot of years. He died in 1992. And my mother, for many of those years, never dated. She didn't even try to date until last year. And we were happy as hell. But she didn't date because she thought we didn't want her to date. I can tell you years ago we wanted her to date because we were miserable.
It's funny how parents are like that. My parents waited to divorce until I graduated from high school.
Wow.
So they waited till 2001. And my dad still, to my knowledge, has never dated.
And so this is the thing. I don't think that's a bad thing, but it's a good and a bad thing, because I think what our parents did, they sacrificed too much of themselves in some cases, right? But the new age parent don't sacrifice enough for their children.
You know what? Like, my husband and I talk about that a lot. Like, so many people, I feel like, just give up too easy. They don't realize, like, marriage is hard work. And there's ups and downs, and part of being married is accepting, like, there's gonna be ups and downs, and it's just how you work through that. That's really the important part. And people just see it, get over, like, see a hard patch, and they're just like, I'm done, I'm over it.
My husband said it best one day. We've been married only 15 years. And he said, what people don't realize when they get married and you are committed, like you are with that person, you not only are with the person you met, but every 5 years, that person changes into a totally different person. And you have to choose to love and learn and love that person again. That's what marriage really is about. You have chosen for the rest of my life.
I really like
that. To love this new person over and over again. And it's funny because when I met my husband, I always make the joke, when I met you, you used to party all the time. I used to party all the time. But now he's turned into like this house person. Like he doesn't like to party at all. Like it's rare. And I'm like, when did this happen? He was like, we've been married 15 years. I told you, every 5 years. The person changes.
I really like that.
But he's right. I even look back on myself just 5 years ago. I did this. If I look at my Facebook 5 years ago, and the person that I present today is, not drastically different because he's been here 15 years. But if you go like 16 years, she's drastically different from the person you see today. But the woman, even 5 years ago, with him, I can see it. And I told him, I said, that's probably one of the best things he ever could have said to me.
Yeah.
About marriage. That's probably the best way to explain it to somebody else. Because what happens, Lily, what happens is that person gets to that point where you've grown, they're grown, you look at each other, and it's like, I don't want to be with you no more. You talk about how quick they give up.
Right,
I don't want to be with you no more. Then they think it's because I don't like you no more. No, you still love that person. You just have to learn who this person has grown to become. And I think that people who are good at marriage, they master loving that person anyway.
And you know what? Like, I tell my friends and my family, I'm like, people, no matter who you are with, they will annoy you.
Mm-hmm.
They are going to annoy you from time to time.
Yep.
It is, are you willing to accept those annoyances? Are they worth it? Are the good times worth the annoyances? Because if they are, stay. Yep. If they're not, then that's when you make that informed decision.
Yeah. It's funny. We've gotten so good of learning how to like break away, even in the house, one of the things I told him when I met him, because I had a whole lot of bad relationships one way or the other. I mean, could be me too. I mean, a lot of it was me. Don't get me wrong. So when I say I had bad relationships, I'm not saying the men were bad.
Right.
But I said when I met him, I was tired of fighting and arguing. And I remember saying to him, I don't want to be with nobody. I don't want to fuss or fight in my house. And his personality is he's not raising his voice. So I always said to myself, like, I got to be careful how I talk to him, because you can be talking to him. He ain't gonna be yelling and screaming, telling you I'm packing my stuff. You just gonna come home and he's gone. So I'm very careful on how we talk, but we also know that, like, he knows with me that sometimes I just need to get it out. And so if it takes a day, then he'll come back to it. But knowing those things goes back to what you said. People give up too much. When a person says, I know that it takes her a day or two to get over whatever she made about, and a lot of times it's me, just being he spoiled me. I blame him. You spoiled me. But he'll give me that space. And then when he comes back, it's with so much love. It was like, it was funny when you did, or you said blah, 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 blah. And we can go back and laugh about it.
Right.
Right. And I think not just with marriage, that's with every like your relationship with your child is very similar.
Yes.
Very similar. My daughter gets on my nerves. It doesn't mean I love you.
How old are your kids?
So my biological is my son, Michael, who is the one that most people see because he helps me with the animals. Michael is 25. He'll be 26 August 15th. And then Jada is 28. That's the one who gave me my 3 grandchildren. And then Nala was my bonus daughter. She is 15. And then we also had adopted one of Michael's classmates, which we still very much consider ours. Yeah. And so she's out on her own and everything now. But she left here when she was 20 and 19. So she's 22 now. Oh, nice. Yeah.
18-year-old, I'm like, I know why mothers in nature eat their children.
Right. I mean, like let me tell you this.
I probably would right now.
I always said, I want a girl. I want a girl. I want a girl first. I want a girl first. I want a girl first. If I could go back and redo it, I would want all boys. Girls at some point, like, they just don't like their mothers that much anymore.
Like right now, my daughter loves me. She loves me so much. When I went to Peru earlier this year, like, mind you, I never travel. I was gone for 2 weeks, which is the longest I've ever been away from my family. And my daughter is calling me and texting me like almost on a daily basis, like, why did you do this to me? Why are you gone? Like, why can't daddy be gone? And I'm like,
see, no, Jada's not like that. Jada's more like, now she'll like your birthday and stuff like that. But if it wasn't for the grandchildren, Jada could be gone weeks, and she'll only call me if she need help or something. Like she could be gone weeks. Now, Michael, I can leave this house for 30 minutes. On the 31st minute, he's like, "Mommy, you okay? I love you." Like, he wakes up every morning. "Good morning, Mommy." He'll knock on my bedroom door. "Good morning, Mommy." Like, he is such sweet. Yeah, he's very much like, I'm his world. The only time I ever saw that boy get mad is when he felt like somebody disrespected me. And I never, Michael is very like passive on a lot of stuff. His disability makes him that way. But when it comes to his mother, oh, he's a beast. And I told my husband, said he don't need disability or not, his mother, and he's going to protect his mother.
That is so sweet. Like, no, right now, like, my son, he is so much smarter than I am. Like, it seems like my breathing just really irritates him.
Oh.
I'm like,
so does he help? Like, does he try to help at all with it? Or he just doesn't, he can't comprehend it? Like, what are you doing?
He used to help me so much with makes and the maintenance. But like, ever since he turned 16, he's been just like too cool to do anything.
Oh, got you. So who helps you with the snakes? How do you keep it all together with being a teacher as well?
I have to like carve out time. So when I'm listening to podcasts, I'm usually cleaning. So if I'm like not active in the chats, I'm just like lurking in the background, because I just have to be really efficient with my time.
Right.
And my husband is really needy. He always like, we watch a lot of TV together. So we need like our show time.
Yes.
So I really have to be really efficient with my time.
Yeah. So I'm blessed right now, and that's all I can say. But when I was working and doing this at the same time, like, I couldn't imagine working a full-time job and having everything I have now. It was fun, when I didn't have like all of the hatchlings and everything. Now it's I'm grateful for my husband, who, he always say, focus on that, focus on that. Try to, accomplish those goals. And I think for me, because this was always my dream type of thing, it's still hard to, carve out time because you have other parts of your life that you would love to implement in your free time. Perfect example. I wanted to be in Anaheim. Were you in Anaheim?
No. My cousin got married. How rude.
Oh, how rude. Oh, yes, I wanted to be in Anaheim, but this was my first season and I was not comfortable leaving with eggs in the clutch, new hatchlings, anything like that. And that's where more people get better.
Gorgeous, Nicole. Oh my
Thank
God.
you.
I'm like, oh, if I had room for mainland, oh my gosh, they're amazing.
Thank you. They are. I love them. I do. I love them. And for me, like, and what I try to show people, and a lot of people don't understand, because for a long time, mainland's got a bad rap. What I try to show people is that for me, mainlands will actually, I don't want to say better, because a retic is a retic. I'm going to say that over and over again. I got a little dwarf over there with a food response out of this world, okay, that my mainlands don't have. I don't, like, you better tap that one you better be peeking and tapping that one, okay? She is hysterical. And my husband always say, why that little one like that? Why that little one want to eat everything? I'm like, look, but the mainlands are not like that. So I try to show people they are literally, because they're so big, they're so confident, that you can actually do way more with them than people ever tried to do. And because of that, they're not a lot for me to handle. Yeah. I am not Superwoman. I'm not in here walking around dragging. No, like, they help me. Like, they be like, okay, this is the little weak one. Let me go and crawl over and help her. And they love approaching me in that way. Like, they know they're helping me in a way. And it's just the weirdest thing. But mainlands are amazing. I think retics are amazing. I don't like the super dwarfs, not the snake itself. I don't like the size. That's why I got into the mainland and the berm, because I wanted the big snake. And right now, if I let one of them out, they can crawl around Lily, and I can sit here and do this podcast. Opposed to that dwarf girl over there, she's gonna be out and she's just gonna be into stuff. She can because she's smaller, she can hide in different places. It's just hysterical. My husband be like, you be up here yelling at that one like it's a child, and the rest of them be up here. You have 4 of them out, and you're just fine. I'm like, because she is. Like,
that's the point. I'm like, a big mainland is not going to be able to hide so easily.
Right. You know, whereas you hear it, like, oh, she just knocked this over. Oh, I see you going behind this because something wiggling. And, the smaller ones is just hysterical. Now, I do have a mainland who is the same size as the dwarf, which is at my purple sunfire, which is absolutely hysterical to me. I raised her just like I raised all the other ones, and she just never, like, grew like the other ones. But what is so with the ball pythons, have you started breeding any of them yet?
So yeah, last year I had my first clutch, but it was funny, to be honest, like, I still don't know who sired the clutch. So it was a yellow belly female. Okay. And I had a yellow belly male, I had a coral glow male, and a blackhead Mojave male. And so I put her with the yellow belly male because I was like, hopefully I'll get ivories. But then I was like, I didn't really see them locking. So then I was like, oh, maybe he doesn't know what he's doing. Let me put the next male in.
Gotcha.
And then I did see locks, but then that was the coral glow. And then I was like, oh, but blackhead Mojave, like, I'd rather produce blackheads. Like, let me put the blackhead just in case. So I put all 3 boys to her. And she laid 6 eggs. Okay. 3 molded pretty quick. But 3 hatched out, which were 2 yellow bellies and a normal. So I was like, I have no idea who sired this clutch.
So it's so funny. I think I was talking to Justin from Pipeline when I was having the first clutch, and it was the retic clutch. And I noticed that one of the eggs was starting to go bad right away. So he told me what to do with it. And then the one thing he said to me, no matter what, do not open that bad egg. If it goes bad, you do not want to open it. And I said to him, I wanted to open it just to see what was in it. He was like, trust me, you don't want to open it. So I never did. I just gave it away, you know. To
You know what? I saw so many of Billy's videos where he opens the egg and they're like throwing, like retching. And I'm like, you know what? Like, no thanks. Like, I don't like throwing up.
Right. And look, I hate stuff that hits you like that. Like,
no. No, I'm just like, no thanks. Like, I'll avoid that negative experience.
And I told when I told my husband when I threw it away, he was like, "You don't want to make sure." I said, "Nope." I said, nope. This thing is clearly. I said, when I went by was the coloration and the smell. I said, I don't even want to see what's in it because
I don't want to know what abomination come out of that. Like,
right. You're and at that particular stage, what I do like is that most of the times, if they're going to go bad, they go bad right away within the first couple weeks. Like, you know, right. Like you just example, I think it was clutch number 4. One of the eggs had weak veins, and I put an X on it. And I said, I'm gonna check it in about a week. And when I went back, you started to see it going bad. And I'm like, yep. I was like, exactly. Like, it goes bad within that first 2 weeks. So that's the good thing.
Yeah. No, and I did everything wrong. I didn't believe I was doing anything right. So I didn't have any confidence in what I was doing. So I didn't have my incubator ready. I didn't have, I was just like, you don't know what you're doing. You obviously did something wrong. You've paired her with all these males and nothing is happening. So I was just like, you're just not good at this. So one morning I just wake up and I remember I had gotten into an argument with my son and I was like hot, and I'm just storming downstairs and looking at checking on all the snakes. And I'm like, I saw eggs and I was like instantly in a perfect mood. And
it's amazing. It's an amazing feel. I don't care how many times it happens. I mean, I remember visiting at Ozzy's one day, and it was a day that he had all these clutches happening last year, and he was just like a kid, oh my God, check this out. This is so cool. Blah, blah, blah. And I was saying to myself, do that feeling ever go away? And they just came out and said, Ozzy, does that feeling ever go away? He said, absolutely not.
Yeah. Hopefully I have 3 gravid females right now.
Amazing.
So yeah, I'm really hoping my pewter female that I paired up with my blackhead. I paired all of the girls with my blackhead Mojave.
Okay.
And she is looking super uncomfortable. please. And of course, so I've had her since 2020, and she was produced by Osborne Reptiles.
Okay.
And she never has refused a meal. She refused 3 meals straight, and then she started getting super puffy and big, and I'm like, oh, please, girl. Every day her name is Medusa. I'm like, Medusa, you ready?
Come on, let's go.
I know, and I put different water bowls. I'm just just in case if you need water there, and you don't want to move.
Right, exactly.
I love
whatever you need.
I love my snakes, which is one of the reasons why I was just I'm starting to thin out some of the genes that just don't make sense. Because like I said, when I first got into it, I was like, I just want the cheapest, prettiest snakes possible.
Right.
And it led me to having things just a single gene coral glow, single gene yellow belly, that I'm just dude, I need space for some more quality animals. And I'm starting to acquire more, which is really nice. I'm starting to build some more of my hets because we said, I'm a teacher, so I don't have a lot of disposable income.
Right.
I'm trying to build that het army and building up those double hets and
which is horrible because teachers should be one of the highest paid people. I always say that. I never understood, and even I would never want to be a teacher, right? But because I think it's special people, just like doctors and nurses, special people are alive for those jobs. But in the pay scale of it all, everybody teaches the doctor. Everybody teaches the fireman. A teacher is a part of everybody's learning something. You can't even think to pass a fire test a fireman's test if you can't read. Why
Right.
are teachers not amongst the highest paid in the country? And if there's anything,
I agree.
I mean, really, I'm serious. So, and me having like being a mother of a child with special needs, I have seen things that teachers go through that it ain't cut out for especially today. What age do you teach?
So I love the little.
You're lucky, right?
The lower the better. I just finished teaching first grade this last year, but before that, I was doing the English as a second language, essentially.
Okay.
Which was multi-level groups, which I love teaching kids how to speak English.
So
but next year I'll do kindergarten, which I'm super excited for.
I could teach people's babies all day. I would have fun with that. What I could do.
They're sweet, and most of the time they want to please you.
Yes, and when you're kind to kids are just going to do what you ask them to do because you're kind. Miss Lily. Oh, there goes Miss Lily. I remember being a kid. I remember looking at Miss Johnson to this day. My kindergarten teacher, Miss Johnson, was absolutely amazing. In 5th grade, she decided to teach 5th graders. And I was like, I want to go to Miss Johnson class. And how it was set up back then, it went by alphabets, who went to which teacher, homeroom, whatever. I had my mother write a letter, like everything. And so when they told me Miss Johnson had passed away, because I didn't know she had passed away. And then my mother said, sit down, girl. Miss Johnson was every bit of 95 years old. I was like, but to me, I still see my teacher, you know what I mean? Like, of course, if I'm 50, she did get older.
Yeah. There's a group of students that I had in kindergarten, and then I went to 1st grade, so I had them in 1st grade. And then the following year, I moved to 3rd grade. So I had a year of a break, but then I got them in 3rd grade. So those kids are really like my kids. And they're actually going to be seniors this upcoming year. And I already got emails from parents. Hey, just wanted to make sure that you're going to be available in the summer because you're invited to graduations. And I tell them, I'm like, once your kid is my student once, I'm like, they're my babies for the rest of their life.
And that's how it used to be with a lot of teachers. I think now, especially here, I'm in the DMV area, it's amazing with me, even compared to when my children were in school, the level of disrespect that teachers have to go through with the older children, the middle school and the high schoolers, and the lack of support that they get from the parents. Because I remember when my daughter would act up in school, she had a principal at Old Court Middle School who I would just tell, give me the key. She knew what that meant. Give me the key. Because my daughter knew we will lock you, me and you in here. I got the key. And I will fix it for everybody in here. But she had a very, her principal was a middle-aged Black woman, so she got that you can't just sit here and talk to these children with kindness. But now, I'm not gonna say you can't, but when you're having those challenging ones, like my daughter could be, I knew who my child was. I didn't need them to tell me.
I'm like, I know what I produced.
Exactly. I don't need y'all to tell me. I know what she did. It sounded exactly like, I used to always say, sound like something she gonna do. And then when I would come up there, and I would always give Jada the opportunity to tell me what she did. And when she would get quiet, I knew she was wrong. And I would say, give me the key. And they knew what that meant. And I said to Jada recently, what's going on in the schools today is because when the principal calls the mom defends the child, knowing the child is like my daughter. You know what I mean? And they're fighting, like to have to go to work, and you can't manage these personalities because it's society's fault. It's not the kids' fault. These children were born to younger parents. These parents were never given the appropriate skill sets to raise children. No one ever gave them like a lot of what we got from our parents about what having babies really would be like and raising children really would be like as a single mom. And these kids are the product of angry parents. But those angry parents have to release a little bit, because a lot of these teachers who are in place, I know for me, when my mother was weak or couldn't be there because she was a nurse, I had teachers who were strong. They had me. They made sure I went to cultural arts. They made sure I walked back across those streets to get home from school. You don't have that now because teachers are so drained from these children, these adult children, because pretty much that's what they are in high school now. They're 16 years old who no one made them follow any rules, and so they think they can come in here and just be mean. Are the schools like that shifted like that in California with the older kids? Do you think that's harder?
It even starts. It starts in elementary school. Like,
oh wow,
some of the behaviors that you find in elementary school, you're just like, that's grown behavior.
That's like a job.
I'm coming up on my 15th year in education, and I feel like every year it's progressively gotten a little bit worse. And I think there's no easy solution or easy answer, but what I think a lot of teachers get frustrated when they'll send a student to the office that's been disrespectful or just completely like disruptive, whatever. And then they're in the office like eating chips, playing games, and you're just like, really? Like, they're having fun? Like, so
right. That's the
time that you don't. So it's just like, sure, like I'll be in, if being disrespectful gets me to eat chips and play games versus writing, why not be a jerk for that period of time?
I feel the same way about our prison system. So the first time I had to visit a federal penitentiary, and I remember going in there. Now, of course, from the outside, it looks like a prison, right? But then going in there and saying, this prison? Like, you know what I mean? Y'all get to do this, y'all get to do that, you get to do that, you get to eat this, you get to do that. I'm like, oh, this is why some people come back, because they don't get all of this outside. They back in here.
Where I tell my kids, I'm like, prison almost sounds like a retreat. I'm like, I'll have internet access. I'll have access to a TV.
Yes!
I don't have to clean a house. I don't have to pick up after other people.
Meals are prepared. They're delivered.
I'm like, maybe I'll go to prison for just a little bit. Like,
and so I always say,
no, it's not for me.
Exactly. And then so for me, it's too, you know, growing up, the black and white jail suits, the orange jail suit. And remember, bread and water. That's what they say you're supposed to get in prison. Now they get filet mignon, but if you treat prison like prison, it may not be the cycle of people wanting to just go back. And literally, I watched something recently where a guy said that. He said, one of the worst things that happens to someone who spends 20 years in prison is that everything when you're in prison is afforded to you. Now you got to come back out.
Right, and learn how to do
how to afford it to yourself. I'm like, no one thinks about that.
Everybody in prison should be contributing to society and having a job that contributes to society.
And if there's a lot of, I always said to people, I come from a family where they're drug dealers, and if the family drug dealers were the smartest people, like they were intelligent. They learned to be chemists. They learned how to never remember everything without writing it down.
Right.
That was another thing. Like the skill set. Yes, they understand. Wait a minute. They understand how our air and our water traffic work more than anybody else.
Right.
But you're right. We could be utilizing those skill sets.
Yep.
Right from the prison, you know, we could be utilizing those skill sets. And it's just, I think that's part of the systematic issues that a lot of us are seeing in the world, is that everything that's supposed to be hard has been made easy. I mean, even for kids, you know.
So my son and I are having this huge debate because he got his phone taken away because his grades aren't good. So I'm like, if you're not making smart choices, you don't have access to a smartphone.
Yep.
You don't have access to a PlayStation.
Your phone is smarter than you, then you don't need it.
And then he's like, well, I'm not going to do well in school then because he needs this app. So now they'll take a picture of a math problem and it gives them the answer. And I'm like, so I'm like, you're basically telling me I'm a dirtbag because I'm not giving you your phone so that you can cheat? And I'm like, why don't you just try learning the information, dude?
Lily, the sad thing is, it's that easily provided to them, right? So let's say, yes, probably back in the day, well, I don't even know about phone. We could use a calculator if we wanted to, but you had to sneak
and
use the calculator. You had to see it. It's not something that you can just talk to or put it in an app and it's going to do it for you. But I think that's also why our society is failing in some areas as well. It's because no one has the ability to critical think. We had to solve, remember solving problems, math problems, as annoying as it was.
Long division, you're like, oh my gosh, with fractions.
Algebra. Like I hated algebra. Like I hated algebra. And I remember saying I would never use it again. You know when we use algebra? Right now.
I'm like, we're using statistics, probability all the time.
We're using it now. And I always say when I'm like doing something or trying to figure out genetics and trying to do it without the market calculator, which is wrong sometimes. I'm like, oh my God, I should have paid attention to algebra. I should have paid attention to algebra. But I thank God for mentors who will actually like just go through it with me, you know.
See, it's difficult for me because I loved school and I did well in school. So for me, I'm like, why don't you like school? Like, and I'm like,
I can tell you, I loved school. I loved school. I loved all the activities I did. I hated algebra. The only class I hated was, or not just algebra, anything that I felt like was not going to be applied in my later life. Right? Like I like geometry because yes, it was about angles. This is important. Like if I ever decided that I wanted to place something on a 90 degree or 65 degree, if I was ever lost and I needed to use a compass, all of this matters. So I was right, exactly. But with algebra, I think it wasn't until I became adult that I realized that algebra was just as important, like points and figuring out problems. And like I said, right now, why are you doing that? Utilizing it to properly understand genetics is hysterical to me that I didn't. What has been the hardest part of breeding for you?
The hardest part of breeding is honestly like just not having self-restraint to not purchase and purchase and purchase.
Okay.
And being patient. Because I see all of these morphs and I love them and I'm like, I want it, but it's like, is that going to make sense?
Right.
And so I have made a lot of purchases that I'm just like, now I'm like, it didn't make sense. Why did you do that?
Well, I think too, like for me, I think my biggest failure in the beginning was, I don't know, in my head, it was like, since we're breeding, I'm gonna need a whole lot of men. Right. So I got all the males first. And
yeah, I didn't do that because I remember when I was watching all those videos, that's the number one thing people would say is like, don't get so many males.
See, remember, I was keeping before I even decided to breed. So when I was buying animals, I didn't care if it was a male or female. I was buying them based on what they look like. Now, the last 2 years, yes, that's what I did. Female, 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 female. But you were lucky, to know that, because I'm telling you, that's one of the biggest mistakes I think you can make.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's why, so it was actually really funny. The Bell Brothers guy came to my house to do a little tune-up and he's like, oh, what do you have in all these tubs? And I was like, ooh, do you want to see? Like, those are my snakes. And I showed him and he's like, oh my gosh, like those are super cool. And I'm pulling snakes out, like showing him, and I was like, he's like, my girlfriend really, really wants a snake, and I was like, do you want to bring her home a surprise? Like, because I put my coral glow single gene and my yellow belly single gene on Craigslist, and I was just getting so irritated at all these people being like, oh, can I get them for free? Like,
Right.
and you're just like, really? Like, I priced them pretty cheap already. Like, the yellow belly I put for $50. I'm like, cheap. So,
You can get
but this guy was so excited, and he's like, my girlfriend really wants it. I was like, do you want to take him home? And he was like, let me call my girlfriend. So we called, and she actually really liked both of them. And, and I was like, you know what? I need to make space. So I kind of was like, let me alleviate this load, even though I loved those two boys.
Yeah.
I was like, I text Chad, and I was like, should I really let them go? And he's like, if they'll make somebody else really happy, just do it. So those boys are gone, and they seem like they have like tons of different pets, and so.
Okay. Cool. So even with that, like you said, just like being able to turn it off, like that's why I keep it separate. My pets are my pets, right? And then except for the retics, they bred themselves, so I can't connect them. But like the animals that I'm actually breeding, the ball pythons are easy for me to part with. The retics are still hard, and I think it's because the mom and dad are my pets. Like, and I never looked at the breeding ball pythons except for two who were already pets. I never looked at them like I look at these. So the ball python part is easy. I think the biggest mistake, in fact, I'm caught up now because my girls have developed, all of me years later, but I could have been further ahead in my projects had I followed videos like you did and got my females first. Because I would agree, if there's any advice that I can get anybody, that's one of the biggest mistakes you can make if you plan to breed.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I didn't even realize as a pet owner all those years that I never paid attention to, oh, this one is a girl and she's taking much more longer to get to adult size than the boy. I just had two snakes.
And like the boys are deeper, so you're just like, what's that?
I never paid attention to any of that. And so that was like, when people ask me what's the biggest mistake, I make sure I say that. Please, please, please buy your females first. Yeah. The other one is what you're talking about. Now, fortunately for me, even though I bought males that were multiple genetics and genetics that I liked. The hard part for me is trying not to shift from what I like, right? And then trying to, like, you got to see, I'm telling you, give an example. That hurricane and the cryptic and all that, when I was buying mines, they were not even genetics for me to even think or care about, pretty much, right? But now you're starting to hear them over and over again. And I said to myself, I'm not buying hurricane, right? Because I love it. I like it. Don't get me wrong. But I like all this other stuff that I had already bought too.
Right.
I can't keep doing this. So I'm going to start producing the snakes with the animals I have. And now, if further on down the line, I think that hurricane makes this particular production look better, then that's what I'll do.
Right.
But I can't keep adding on because everybody else got it.
That's the part. It's just it's like that FOMO. It's just like,
yes,
everybody has it. Like, I should have it too.
Yes.
It's like, no, like I'm in no rush. I'm not relying on the snake breeding for my primary income.
Right.
It's something that is just a passion of mine. So I'm like, this passion can last. So I need to keep telling myself, like, just be patient because it's coming. It's like a 10-year plan. Right. Because I'm dealing with heads. So I'm very realistic about what I'm dealing with. And I'm just like, I'm excited about the journey because I'm just like, it's just fun. It's fun sharing all of these like pictures with people. And I am awful with social media because I'm so like, I'm so emotionally drained at the end of the day.
Yes.
that like sometimes I literally turn off and I just want to like enjoy myself with the chats and the live streams.
I feel
without having to post. But I do realize like I'm like, it's a business. It's the way that things are shifting, and that's advertising. So I do realize like I'm like, I need to post so much. And the funny thing is, Nicole, I take tons of pictures. I just never post.
To post. And that's nothing wrong. Like honestly, I literally, other than like this, like the podcast is one thing. I can sit down and talk to people all day. But they really, like over the last 2 years, especially Dre, pushed me to the social media stuff. Like first of all, I don't have patience for a lot of it. So like people, because now you got to put up like with the YouTube, you got to actually like put up with people who respond, whether it's good or bad. And sometimes people can be very ignorant. And then like, I just feel like I can't just turn the other cheek sometimes. I got to say what I want to say, how I want to say it. And so the way I deal with that though is sometimes you have to just check out from it, because if you do not, you become consumed with it. And now you're going to post on all these platforms. Like, you know, it's one generation on this platform, it's one generation on this platform, it's another generation on this platform, and you got to find a way to bring them all together. It's too much.
Right. No, like I did get my first troll not too long ago, and I sent it to Antoine, and I was just like, look, I got my first troll. And he's like, oh, look at you. Yay.
Because he get it probably all the time.
But I was like, wow, like it was so like, it was just like this random page that was just like, F you, bitch, like you post stupid shit, like die. And I was like, oh, and I was like, cool, have a great day. Like,
wow.
I'm like, if you go out of your way to do that, I'm like, that just makes me feel sorry for you. And I'm like, I'm glad that I occupied some space in your mind today.
Yeah, that's like, I get them on YouTube. I don't get them on IG or anywhere like, but on YouTube, especially with the shorts. And some of the times when people say things, I'm like, oh God, like, you know, and I can ignore it. But then sometimes like I just have to professionally assassinate them and, you know, tell them what it really is. I think the hardest part, or not the hardest part, but the part that I try to do so much with everything that we do and everything that I do is just to show these animals are just like any other pet, and that yes, everything is not for everybody. There are people who keep venomous very, very well. Venomous is not for me, but I don't, it's not because somebody else shouldn't keep it. Like if they do, that's your thing, that's your thing.
So many people that keep venomous correctly.
Exactly.
And there's also people that don't. And I don't think I'm not qualified to care.
No, I know I'm not. I can't, like, even watch it, the coordination with a cobra, how you got to keep your hand here and keep, like, I'm not that coordinated to be keeping my eyes focused on that animal.
Right. I have not analyzed those species enough to know their body language enough. So, and snakes are so agile. Like,
yes,
you have to know the body language of those individual snakes.
And you have to know like how they move, with like which way they're looking this way. It's too much. And what I would say is that venomous keepers though are normally the most responsible keepers. Normally,
yeah.
They're the ones who are the most responsible because they have to be. For the most cases,
or die.
Exactly. These are the options here. You know, with these animals, we'll get a bad bite, you know, in some cases, or you know, a ball python, a little prick. But with venomous, a little prick from a small viper will send you away from this world. So I feel like they have to be a little bit better.
Yeah.
As a community.
It's so funny. Anytime I bring snakes to school, like one of the first thing kids ask is like, are they poisonous? And I'm like, first off, I'm like, if you eat something and it gets you sick, that's poisonous. And I'm like, if something bites you and injects you with poison, that's venomous.
That's So the funny thing is that I never even learned that till I was like 21. I used to say poisonous for the long
common. So common. That's why that's like the first thing that I teach them. And then like, you know, they always are, and I tell them, I'm like, if this snake were venomous, I would never hold it in my hand like this in front of you guys, like this. Like,
right.
Hey guys, look at this venomous rattlesnake. Like,
right.
No.
But that's funny that the kids even think that. They automatically think that they're venomous.
Yeah. And then the next question that I always get is like, do they bite? And I'm like, well, do they have a mouth?
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, do you have a mouth? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, can you bite? And kids are like, no. And I'm like, so how do you eat your food? Do you bite your food? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, so you do bite.
Right.
And I'm like, anything with a mouth has the capabilities to bite.
Right.
But this snake I've had for 3 years. She has never bitten anybody yet.
Right.
So as long as you treat her with respect, she will not bite you.
Agreed. And that's what I tell people, like, even with, I'm actually more apt to hand somebody one of the large retics than I am one of the boas.
Oh yeah, boas right here are a different breed, but they're so beautiful.
They are, and they're wonderful animals, and for the most part they will not. But I can tell you that I've never been holding a retic and a retic just go biting at something. A boa will. Like, if you hold something, let's say it was a distraction to them and you don't know, you're like, what are you biting at? Like, what is there? But somebody could have just walked past them or flashed past them or something like that. Where the retics, I think, for me, they think more. So they'll look and, oh, okay, that's what that is. And because they're so used to certain things, they just, turn it off. So I think that on the educational part, though, the school that you work with, do they allow, like, how do they feel about the animals, the administration? Do they love it with them coming to the school?
My principal was not keen to it at all at first. And then I had my first graders, like, write him a letter.
Aww.
So we wrote him a letter talking about how he should let us get a class pet. And then it was in between the crested gecko that I had at home and a ball python.
Okay.
And my principal was like, he's really afraid of snakes. So I just told him, I was like, I think we'll bring the crested gecko. And then the kids, I brought both in because I was like, we're going to make an informed decision. You guys are going to research crested gecko care and you're going to research like ball python care and see which one is better for our classroom.
Cool.
And so we talked about it, and it came out that the ball python would be better because they were afraid that if we were too noisy or did something to startle the crested gecko, it could shed its tail. And we didn't want that to happen. So they were like, ball python is better. And I got this amazing 8-ball ball python from Brian Fontaine, and she's like my little special needs snake because she has a couple little kinks. Aww. But she's beautiful, and I'm like, that's the perfect snake to bring as a class pet because she's gorgeous, but she's imperfect, which makes her almost even more pretty.
Yep. Like, I just had my very first one with a kink, and first of all, I'm laughing because he was the first one to eat. So I fed everybody, and I'm like, wait a minute.
She has never failed. She would eat like every 5 days if I let her.
So I was expecting, because his kink is like right past, I would say his, probably like a inch past his throat. Like, so it's close to his neck. So I was thinking, like, well, how would he be able to constrict it away? I had all these questions. So somebody said just put a little baby pinky in there. So I put the pinky in there, but it was like, well, it was more like a fuzzy because it had a little bit of hair growing. And I put it in there, and then everybody else in here, I didn't hear this. So I hear the food hit. So I'm trying to see who ate. It's him. I'm like, you go in, boy. Good job. You did it. Good job.
Oh yeah, she eats like a beast, and I love her because she like I said, she's gorgeous. And her kink, she has like a little bump on her head, which is just like so endearing. And then she has a little kink like literally right by her cloaca.
Oh.
So I tell it like the kids love her. I have a little girl that was afraid of hummingbirds.
Wow.
And she looked at the snake and she's like, oh, he is so adorable.
There's
And I'm like,
something about them. It's something about, you know, their mystique, something about their calmness, something about just it does something for the soul. So my girlfriend just started her mental health practice, and I told her, when you are ready, I need you to let me bring some snakes to your facility, bring some people, and I want you to see it for yourself, how instantly it shifts a mindset. Like just the focus, even if someone fears it, once you put it in their hand, I did it with, I posted that on IG probably about 8 months ago. My daughter came over, one of her girlfriends, and the girl stood outside. Yeah, she kept saying, I'm not coming here. I'm terrified. I was like, you're going to come in here. I said, and you're going to hold a snake. And I said, which one you want to hold, a big one or a small one? She was like, none of them. So I pulled out the Desert Ghost because it's a pretty snake. And I put it in her hand, and instantly she was like, oh my God, just like that. And I said, so you want to go see the big one? She said, yes. Came in here, she wouldn't pick up a retic, but she touched it. Yeah. And I said, I told you, I said, if you get past what you think it is, they are the most amazing animals.
Right. I tell people, I'm like, they're not these like slimy creatures that are sizing you up to eat you.
Right.
I'm like, first off, like the Bell Brothers guy, like he kept telling me, he's just like, if he wraps around my neck, like, should I be worried? And I'm like, these are ball pythons. I'm like, you should never really be worried about a ball python. I'm like, you'll be, and mind you, this guy was like, he was a big guy, and it was hilarious.
They
being like,
intimidate the biggest, right? I don't know why, but yeah.
He's like, if he wraps around my neck, like, and I'm like, no, and I wrapped him around my neck, and I'm like, look, like, he's fine. Like,
right.
Find his tail, and just like, if you want him to unwrap, like, find one of the ends and just unravel him.
Right.
They're not. And I'm like, I told him, I was like, my ball pythons eat, like, I usually have my rat guy give me a large, small.
Okay.
But I'm like, they eat rats like this big. And I'm like, you're a giant. Why? No, that's not even the realm of thinking.
It's amazing that there's so many people who think like that, though, right? Yeah. Especially for ball python, you know, like, oh my God, it's going to eat you. No. I
was actually like thumbing through, like, I don't know, some streaming service, and there's like there's a movie about snakes, like a woman who like turns into like snake behavior. But I was looking at the trailer, and the demon snake is a ball python. I was like,
wow. Wow. Because it's perception.
I'm like, that's like the evil devil snake.
Right. Like there's so many other snakes you can get, like a green tree.
Way more menacing. Like,
it won't be the ball python.
Like, show a picture of a fer-de-lance. Like,
exactly. But all right, so I have a few closeout questions for you.
Yeah.
That's why I wanted to make this fun, because we're going to get to know Lily. So my first one, what is your favorite part about living in California? What do you like the most?
The most, I love the weather, and I love that if you wanted to, you can go to the beach, you can go to the snow in one day.
Okay, cool. Your favorite genre of music?
Hip hop, R&B, reggae.
I love reggae. That's my favorite. Reggae and
I'm about to be DJ Quick on Friday.
Oh, really? Okay. Oh, wow. Yeah, reggae and soca. So, and that's why I like going to the island. So the moment you go to the airport, you get off the plane, the airport, that's what you want to hear to the moment that you come back. They are my all-time favorites.
Parents, I'm like, I'll go on Hair Down Fridays while I'm at the concert for a little bit.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Pretty cool. Who's your favorite comedian?
Oh my gosh, I have too many. I love stand-up comedy is like one of my favorites, but I really like Tom Segura. He's I guess one of my favorites right now.
Okay. Yeah, my favorite will always, I think, be Cat Williams in modern time, but Eddie Murphy.
Oh yeah. So I love Cat Williams, and so I used to work in a town called Woodland, which is one of the towns that he got arrested in for slapping a Target guy.
I love me some crazy Cat Williams.
Oh, I love his new stand-up was actually really funny.
So we saw it come up on the TV the other day. We did not watch it because we had this, I don't know what you call it, but you can like see all these different things at different times. It's not I don't know, it could be the Fire Stick, I don't know, but it's not on our regular cable. But he came on, I was like, is that a new one? My husband said he don't think so, so I'm gonna have to check. It might have been a new one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. And then if you can contribute yourself one thing to change the reptile community, what would it be? Like one positive change.
I think it'd be everybody just staying in their own lane. Just making sure that you're policing yourself so that other people don't have to police you, and just everybody having an attitude of positive intentions and growth.
Absolutely. I can tell you that is probably what was most shocking to me. Not in the ball python community as much. I if I'm being honest, but more on the bigger snake side, not just reticulated python, on the bigger snake sides. It was just not a positive atmosphere. So I stayed away for the longest time. Like I just kind of did my own thing. And I'm glad I did to an extent, because that's where I got to the relationship that I had with them.
Mm-hmm.
I think that if I listened to a lot of, crap that you see in a lot of forums, then I would never have developed the relationship I had with them. But overall, the ball python community, I mean, with a few exceptions, it is just, when it comes from positivity, people, especially like with you and I being a woman, like I noticed the people that you reach out to are men. Sometimes women are not accepted in a lot of ways when it comes to stuff like that. The ball python community protect us. They pretty much, want us to win, like it's not like a competition type of thing, male, female, they want you to win. And I really appreciate that. But what I appreciate most is people like you that I can just send a text message to and say, hey, can you come on this podcast? Or people that we're talking in the chat, and when you see, Lily pop up. Is it Nagatani? Did I pronounce it correctly?
You did. Perfect. I always tell people, I'm like, it's phonetic, just sound it out. Like,
I'm just gonna say it. But sometimes you think that and then it's something else. Like you'd be like, it's Nagatani and it means blah, 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 blah.
No.
But I did want to ask before we go, what is it? Is it your maiden name, the Nagatani?
No, so it's funny. Yeah, it's my maiden name.
Okay.
My husband's last name is Davis.
Okay.
And I was like, I cannot go from Lily Nagatani to being Lily Davis. Which Davis, last time I did I searched it up. It was like the 6th most common last name in the United States. And I'm like, I love my last name. So I'm like, and it's funny. Like when I was a kid, I used to want to be like a designer, and I would make like my Barbie clothes. And I would be like, when I grow up, I'm going to make my Nagatani line. And I was like, it's going to be right now. I was like, it has the expensive I sound. I'm like Gucci, Versace, Nagatani. So I'm like, now my goal is to someday make designer snakes.
Awesome. Well, definitely, I get it. I definitely and certainly get it. It is a beautiful name, and it goes well with an exotic reptile business, right? Like the name is exotic. So
and it's hilarious. So one of my girlfriends was like, that kind of sounds like an exotic like dancer company. And I'm like, well, if things don't go well with the snakes, I'm like, we'll start a strip club. Like,
right. It
we'll make
goes.
money either way.
Definitely. Well, I definitely appreciate you making the time to do this. I think definitely this is one that long time coming. I'm glad that you have the flexibility, and I'm glad that I have the flexibility. And that was one of the reasons why I changed the Saturday live from being all the way live, because there are so many people who want to do the broadcast, but people work on Saturday, or the kids got this going on Saturday and stuff like that. So we'll definitely, in the recording here, thank you guys and everybody who will be seeing this Saturday. You got the wonderful Lily from Nagatani Exotics right here on Reptiles and
and an
Cocktails.
honor to be on your show.
Oh, thank you. You are amazing. We're gonna hold tight real fast. And I'm going to be right back with you, Lily. Thank you so much. All right, guys. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Amazing podcast. I knew it would be super amazing, super woman. And I just always love to hear how people get into this, and how they're doing their thing, and then learn more about the individual person. So with that being said, everybody have an amazing Saturday, and I will see you guys on Monday for 2 P's in the podcast. And remember, tonight, Sophisticated Ignorance, 9 o'clock p.m. Central, 10 o'clock p.m. on Wiz Constrictors. Peace.